Howdy, howdy, everyone. We got a little bit of a change up this time. Carson has left me, and Simon has come in to replace his spot indefinitely. No, I'm kidding. Simon's not here indefinitely, but he is here for tonight. I'm Ryan Blankenhorn, of course. Simon, say your last name for me. It's so cool.
Yeah, John Stone.
It's so cool. That's such a fun last name. Anyways, we got some CRL matches for y'all tonight. So a little bit different than the typical PEC, Collegiate Rocket League. So talked a little bit about this on the ACEC broadcast about what CRL actually is and all that good jazz. So we got that coming up, and then depending on how long that goes, then later tonight we've got the PEC broadcast for Overwatch versus Baylor. It is Baylor week, so we'll get that later on today. But before that, we do have Rocket League, Syracuse, and Maryville. Talk to me a little bit about that, Simon.
Yeah, Maryville, #1 ranked in the country as of the rankings of February 15th, so a little outdated, but they have a lot of good victories. Most notably, they added a new player to their roster who has helped them really secure a lot of wins, and specifically in the CRL, they are reigning runners-up, so a lot of pressure on them, but also a lot of familiarity in this league.
Yeah. Okay, I just looked at. So we have monitors below us. That's how we watch our games, of course. You know, we could look that way. I just looked down and saw how short I look compared to you. This is just the elevator button. Go down. Yeah, no, I'm short. Okay. Anyways, I feel short now. This is my glass box, and I feel like the imposter. No, you're very tall. You're 6'3", right?
It's hard to. Yeah, I mean, I can't really control it, unfortunately, but I try hard to stay tall.
What?
Yeah.
Okay, you know what? It's fine. Yeah, Maryville, a very strong school, not just in Rock League, but they used to be, or I should say used to be, that sounds bad, but Maryville has been a very, very good collegiate esport program for a while now. At one point, they had the best Overwatch team, the best Valorant team, a very, very good League of Legends team, and Rocket League. Obviously, as more schools have sort of gotten themselves involved, such as Fisher and St. Clair, the rankings start to sway a little bit. It's not just one powerhouse, but Maryville is still very much a school not to be trifled with by any means, and they have a very, very good Rocket League team. And last year, you were telling me they played very, very well in CRL. They were runner-ups, I believe you told me, correct? Yep. And a very, very good team nonetheless. Syracuse, obviously, they got themselves qualified in after beating Penn State with a reverse sweep, 3-2. So they're still coming off of that. Obviously, with the ACECs, they got themselves a ticket to Waco as well. So they're feeling pretty good, and now they've got to take on a very strong opponent. They went up against Baylor last night, very close series, and now they have Maryville.
Yeah, last night they played Baylor. We're up 2-1 at one point, and then Baylor started to storm back, built the momentum, and that's kind of how it works with Rocket League. So they're just able to continue to fight through, and it's going to be interesting to see how they bounce back today against a really tough opponent like Maryville.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, this Rocket League team has gone back and forth on some really strong competitors and really strong opponents for a while. Baby is one of these players that has been with this team since its creation and sort of the captain, I mean, not sort of, is the captain of this team and has been such an incredibly prevalent figure for this team. I mean, has really been the glue to keep these players together and help them get to the point of where they are today.
Yeah, this roster works so well, and a lot of that is a credit to Gababy. Helped recruit Lester, another one of the players on the Rocket League team. He's likely the goal scorer, mainly for the Orange, but these three work so well together. Tiz, Gababy, and Lester work so well with just their combinations, their passing, and overall, they look like a full unit. We don't see that all the time in a lot of these Rocket League matchups, especially at the collegiate level, but these three really look like a unit, really look like a team, and they play for each other.
Yeah, I mean, these three players have had a lot of time to synergize. I mean, especially over the year this year, they've had a lot of time to work together and adapt and get better, and we've seen that, right? I mean, last semester, they struggled a little bit against some of the higher-ranked teams. Yeah. This semester, doing a lot better, right? Obviously, that loss to Boise State last week did hurt, but a lot better, right? They have tremendously improved and reached very, very good points to put themselves in positions where they can compete against the best of the best schools. And tonight, it is going to be a tough matchup. That is to say without saying, it's going to be a tough matchup. But it's going to be a matchup that this team definitely can learn a lot from and will definitely do everything they can, because this is going to be a big match that's going to really put them on the radar for a lot of people.
And it's the first matchup of the CRL, so there's a lot of time left in this season. And you mentioned Boise State kind of being a thorn in their side last semester. They didn't make CRL this year, so a team they don't really have to worry about for Syracuse, but obviously Maryville, more than a formidable opponent. They have to focus on what's in front of them today and get off to a good start.
Yeah, and I mean, we talk a little bit about how this roster is played. Obviously, typically it's Jack and Rowan on the desk. When it comes to Rocket League, it's a little bit different for us, but we did have the opportunity to watch them this past weekend on Sunday. You know, their play style as a team, they are very, very much grouped together, but talk to me a little bit about sort of what makes them a little bit different than maybe some of those other teams we saw this weekend.
Yeah, the biggest takeaway for Syracuse was their ability to play together and, most importantly, play aggressively as a unit. They were sitting for most of the games in the attacking third, just constant pressure, trying to starve out the defenders, and then eventually build up to some form of an aerial combination where someone would take it off the wall. Usually it was Gababy, and you had Lesser and Tiz somewhere up there as well to redirect. We saw some insane shots over the weekend, and overall just that combination of aggression but also togetherness is really what makes Syracuse such a strong team.
Yeah, and further on that point, right, we talk about Gababy as sort of this captain of the team. Another thing about him is, you know, he is an incredibly good player. I mean, that is without saying. He is an incredibly good player. Some would put him at some of the top ranks of collegiate. And the reason it's interesting is sort of, you know, he's a good player, but he's not up here with like the rank 1 collegiate players. And the reason is he's not flashy. Gababy is not a crazy, flashy player. He is a sort of simple, mechanical warlord is what it comes down to. He's very, very quiet in how he plays, but with his ability, and that's why I called him the glue earlier, he can work with players like Tiz and Lesser who are insane and Gababy can do the flashy stuff, but Lesser and Tiz really do exemplify that flashier play, and he kind of plays with that a little bit more, and it works very well for a player such as Gababy to play with those two.
Yeah, absolutely. I've never heard a player comparison of a mechanical warlord before, but I like that. That's a good reference. I think it's a good explanation of how he plays as well. Like you said, he's not the flashiest player, but he does what needs to be done. He's that player that will make those interesting plays that you may not pick up initially, but it's what causes those goals or what causes the save defensively that ultimately helps Syracuse win a lot of these close games.
Yeah, and you know, I want to give another shout out here to the Shine Gaming and Esports Center here. It is one incredible facility, and it's one of two that we now have on campus. Obviously, the auditorium in the Marley Education Center. That's not where we are at the moment. We are in the Shine Gaming and Esports Center, but that's something that these players also really take advantage of, right? Is you have a lot of collegiate programs that are starting to find their way into this scene of esports at a higher level than just the club, and they see places like Syracuse that have these really phenomenal facilities, and they're like, well, we want to do something like that. These players, Gababy, Lesser, and Tiz, have all had the ability to play with this facility, with this stage, sort of with the lights blaring on their face, right? They've gotten used to that, and that also helps them in the high-pressure, high-tense situations. Is they're like, all right, we're fine. You know, we don't have to play from our dorms, you know, on a laptop, or we're not in sort of a dark lit room. Like, we are playing on a stage. There are lights on us. It's a broadcast. It's a full thing. And that plays a lot to the mental, to the pressure, and to the tension that they don't feel as much as maybe some of the other teams do.
Yeah, 100%. And a big part of that as well is the fact that they're able to emulate what we'll see when, like, they booked their ticket to Waco. We talked about it a little earlier with them winning an ACEC. They're going to get that exact experience in Waco where they're on a stage, they're sitting next to each other, they're not really facing each other, however else you may set it up. But they're getting that exact simulation here, and that's why a lot of other colleges are kind of using this as a blueprint. They want to see how both a casual and competitive gamer can experience a space like Shine here at Syracuse, and it's a really, really cool thing for a lot of these esports athletes to have here.
Yeah, it really is. And, you know, we see very slightly there's an arm all the way at the edge of that stage over there. That's Lunar. That's Lucas. He's warming up, obviously, for that match later tonight against Baylor. And, you know, we'll talk more about that later. But I wanted to bring him up because, you know, his match starts at 8 p.m. tonight, and it's more of a conversation to have that these players, they're comfortable, right? It obviously at the first, right, when you get this really cool, you know, really fancy, really expensive outside of my caster budget, you know, paycheck, really nice facility, you kind of, it's a little like, ooh, it's a little scary. It's a little frightening, right? Because it's really cool stuff, really cool equipment. You don't want to spill your water on it. But, you know, as these players have gotten more comfortable, this is second nature to them, right? They're used to it, and this is what the pros feel, right? They get on a stage, they plug in their IEMs, they plug in their peripherals, and they just get playing, right? It's another day at the office for them, and that's something that I really want to give major credit to all of our players for, is they've been able to adapt to that point, right? They've been able to play on this stage, they've been able to adapt to it, and they're like, Another day at the office, right? Even in Marley, the audience shows up. Another day at the office.
Exactly. The only thing they're missing, at least here, are the walkouts. I think it'd be fun to have some theme music, maybe the Jordan Bulls intro theme song for each of the players. Cool. But nonetheless, they still get a really cool professional experience, like you said, to have the stage. There are viewing areas here at Shine for players and spectators to come and watch the Rocket League or whatever esport is on at the time. So it's a really cool space to experience. And like you said, a really cool professional setup that we have here.
Yeah, it absolutely is. And as these players are finishing up their warm-ups here, getting ready to play this sort of powerhouse of a Rocket League team, I am curious to see as we transition back into the actual game itself. You know, Syracuse, we talked about, is very good with their passing play and working as a group of three and also keeping that pressure on, right? The concern that brings, however, is sometimes you will, you know, double commit and over-invest on that boost, and I think that's something that is to be aware of tonight. Maryville, very, very good, very well-respected roster. That is something that Syracuse might need to be a little more cautious of.
Yeah, 100%. When you have a really strong team, you can't be intimidated, but you also have to be very calculated. So you have to be really smart about when you're attacking. You need to play together, but also defensively, you have to make sure you know where everyone is, rotating cleanly so that you don't get caught off guard.
Yeah, exactly. And, you know, sometimes these rotates, they take a little bit of time. And so, speaking of rotating, we're going to take a quick little break here, take a little time for ourselves while these players get themselves into lobby, but don't go anywhere. We'll be right back with the action. And we made our offensive rotation back here on the desk, just like some of these Rocket players who will be doing here in a second. And they're going to be starting the lobby here really soon, so I'm going to quickly ask Simon, because he was about to start another conversation before I cut him off. The map tier list of Rocket League.
Yeah, it's super conversational. It's very debatable. I got to go Manfield up there.
All right.
Huge fan of the classic stadium.
All right.
I got to go not underground. Train station. I forgot the official name, which is a bit. But you gotta love the train horn. You know, when the goal happens, it's unique.
Okay, I like it.
And then it used to be Aquadome, but it's been taken over way back to the throwback map when it was actually angled Wasteland. That map was iconic.
I despise that map.
Come on. The angles, the how many times on a kickoff do you get a center aerial ball you can do something with? That's my favorite part about the map. Of course, they leveled it now to make it fair and competitive play, but back when it was a thing in ranked, it was a blast to play on.
I don't know the name of the map, but it's got like the cherry blossom trees, and it's like a Neo Tokyo type of feel. That's been a personal favorite of mine. But of course, your rank 1 pick is gonna be Maryville here as we start off the match here. Syracuse gonna be in orange, Maryville gonna be in blue on your screen, and we're starting off strong as Maryville's gonna get the offensive ball.
And it's really important in those first couple minutes for Syracuse to get out to a good start. They don't have to produce anything crazy, but they have to handle the pressure that Maryville's already coming out with.
Yeah, and we talk about this a little bit this past weekend with the matches, is how good Syracuse was at keeping the pressure on the goal, keep peppering in that aggression on the shots and on that offensive end. But eventually you get a goal, right? Maryville doing that to Syracuse right now.
And another thing, boost management, really crucial. We're seeing Maryville already really taking advantage of those corner boosts when they pop up. Takes every 10 seconds, that boost will re-pop up for 100 boosts for a full tank. So it's important to have that mental thought and make sure to calculate it. But so far, Syracuse doing a good job keeping it out of their third.
Yeah, right. We do see a quick demo there, and that's something that we also saw a lot of this past weekend, where these demos are really the only way to stop a team from these really good passing plays. But when you're in that air, it takes a lot of sort of geometric calculations to get yourself to demo someone in the air. But really, really powerful. You get that 3-second respawn, and that can do a lot for a team if they can find a way to capitalize off of it.
You're currently watching Arju. He's the one that was just added to the Maryville roster. He joined in January of this year, so didn't play the full semester. It's his first semester with the group, but seems to be adjusting well as right away Speed gets the score line open just 90 seconds in, and Syracuse really haven't found their footing yet offensively.
Yeah, we saw a lot of sort of pressure coming in from that side of Maryville, and you see, right, a lot of the Syracuse players were sort of bunched in that right side of their goal, and it was just left open for Speed. But one thing we do talk about as well is, right, you take a look at some of these newer players like Arju who haven't had a lot of time to play with the team, and so it does bring synergy into play, right? All these players are really good mechanically, but right on the side, gonna go in. That's Maryville taking another goal. But as I was saying, a lot of these players are really good mechanically, but sometimes that synergy is where things really start to shake a little bit.
Yeah, super unlucky. Just got the post in for Maryville, and Gababy wanted to get a different redirect, wanted to kick it out a little bit farther on the defensive third, and as a result, ball gets to center. By the time he falls, the shot's already on target, can't really do much. And Syracuse in a pretty big deficit, at least it feels that way, down 2-0 already.
Yeah, I mean, take a look at how long it took that first goal to go in the first place, right? And now you're 2-0 in the series. Lesser takes control of it as it approaches midfield, but not enough boost to keep it forward. Tiz finds it off the top ceiling here, sends it down, but Arju on that defensive end is in a good spot. These rotates from Maryville have been really good. It sets up, but Arju once again there for the defensive side. Boops it up into the air, and now Syracuse back on that defense. Tiz not going to have to worry about defending that as it's going to go off the top crossbar.
And one thing when we talk about boost management, you see those circles next to the name. If you're unfamiliar with Rocket League, that represents the boost amount each car has. So when you see a blank circle, or I guess the color of your team's circle that's empty, it means they have no boost. We're seeing that a lot with Syracuse so far.
Yeah, this boost starvation coming out for Maryville has been really, really good, right? They've been able to keep Syracuse on the back of their toes a little bit, right? They haven't been able to really make any crazy offensive plays because they're using a lot of their boost just to get it going. See, Lesser all the way on the other end gets it there, but no boost to their name, and there's nothing for them to grab in the corner. Tiz, 38 boost on themselves as well, and so you see a lot of this has been boost starvation. Lesser is able to grab a corner in return, sends it back up, a little bit of an air dribble down to midfield, but Relating Wave comes back in and sends it back. Goals open, clears it into the middle. There's the shot. Speed finds it, but just wide off the cross.
And that all came from the double commit a little bit earlier with Lesser and Tiz going for the same ball, and now they're on their back foot. Maryville trying to generate something good. Back wall saved by Tiz as well. But Maryville just able to so quickly turn it from a defensive to an offensive possession.
Yeah, you see the flip reset cancellation coming out from this ceiling, but not going to be able to find anything from it. No one was there for the side of Maryville. Off the top, there goes Relating Wave, sends it back in the middle, but Syracuse, good defense here. Still not a lot of boost to their name, however, to keep themselves back in this series, back off the top again. And this is what we talk about, a lot of pressure going in, but Lesser takes the ball, goes to the shot. Can't quite find it, though.
Initial bump by Tiz almost set up the chance for a double tap, but unfortunately Lesser just a little offline. And there were two Maryville players back to make the save. And my goodness, Relating Wave nearly slotted that but good rotation by Syracuse to keep it alive.
Yeah, you start to see Syracuse now getting a little bit aggressive on their own. There goes the flip, but not going to be able to find it. A good defense comes in from the new member on the side of Maryville. 1 minute left. No goals have been made. It's open, but Speed is there and sends it back again. We've seen a little bit more aggression coming out from Syracuse, and you know, when you have a team that you haven't played much yet, you do have to find that adaptation, figure out what you're going to make work against this team. It's a 2-0 right now, but Syracuse, right, it's not a crazy lead for Maryville. It's definitely still possible for Syracuse to find it. I sent a little bit of a caster curse in there. Arju finds it.
Oh, what a demo as well. Look at this demo coming in from the air. Relating Wave snipes him. And that opened up the low angle shot to slot it away. But I was going to say, just before that goal, this is actually a really good game one for Syracuse.
Yeah.
Obviously, going to go down 1-0 in the series, but you found your footing. It was a slow start, and now you're really able to get going. It feels a bit more even, but when Maryville is combining like that off a ceiling pass and immediately getting it to Relating Wave, it's going to be a long series if that's the case.
Yeah, I mean, that was beautiful. Just pinches it off the ceiling. Relating Wave is there for it. Lesser does go for the save, but isn't able to find the connection. 4-0. It started off in a really good spot for Syracuse, but now I mean, these 34 seconds, now you get to play a little bit more. You get to sort of figure out, what do we want to do? What can we find a way to sort of give Maryville an unexpected sort of twist and turn, as that's what Syracuse needs to do now. They're going to go down 1-0 like you said, but games of Rocket League, they very much can snowball when you go down, you know, 2-3 goals at a time. They go in one person's favor, but the series is very difficult to snowball. That momentum is never going to really translate over because every kickoff is going to start the same.
Yeah, and it's just been a really awkward end of the game as well, but my biggest takeaway is, that would have been huge, honestly, for Syracuse to get that one to slot away. But my biggest takeaway in game one was they scored a good goal, or maybe, you know, they scored, and then within 30 seconds, the second one came through. That's how it went from what felt like a 2-0 game to 4-0, which on your eyes, it looks rough and it's tough. And having to bounce back from that is really important.
Yeah, I mean, we take a look at some of these replays here. Syracuse had some good shots. They had some good saves, but at the end of the day, Maryville was in a much better spot. They were able to capitalize a little bit more. I mean, really good play coming off from the ceiling, but we also see, right, there isn't the crazy synergy, right? You take a look at how Syracuse has been playing. They do want to play more so together. Maryville on the other side of things, it's not a lot of three-person pass, three-person play, and that's where you can sort of see, right, though Arju was getting some good goals and some good demolitions, that is the newness of having that new player come in, is you have to make that adaptation. That synergy isn't quite there yet.
Yeah, and the one thing I'm really picking up about how Maryville plays is almost like they had a really deep defender when they started to turn it on to offense, and then the other two would combine. It worked really well this game with that offensive connection. But if Syracuse can pick up on that and notice that they're starting to combine that way, there may be a chance to turn the tide here.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, right? Syracuse now, they're down 1-0, but now you've got a little bit you've had a chance to feel out what Maryville is going to do, right? You had a chance to figure out how they're going to play, what they want to play, and how they're going to capitalize on your mistakes, and now you get to make your adaptations of your own going into game two. So, Simon, what do you think Syracuse needs to do to find their footing back in this game?
I think number one is just calm down a little bit on the ball. A lot of these plays, you're trying to match the pace of Maryville, which they move a little bit faster than what Syracuse does, so slow down the tempo. Make sure to utilize all three of your players. Like I said, it feels like Maryville is using 2 cars on offense rather than all 3 like Syracuse. So use that to your advantage. Try to get that odd man out of rotation, and then maybe you can find an opening and capitalize that way.
Yeah, potentially even finding those demos, right? If they have that one defender there, look for something combined with your teammates, have that synergy sort of play in. You have a little bit more experience as a team than Maryville does, so you can look to play for that a little bit more. The aggression coming in from Syracuse is there on the offensive side here. That middle full boost going to go over to Gababy. Lesser has some of his own. Going to back up just a little bit, though. Gababy doesn't have enough to capitalize on anything in return. Arju sends it up. There is Relating Wave in return. Lesser going to meet it and send it back down. Over to the cross will be Speed. Arju not going to be in the placement in time to give it back. Off the ceiling, pinches it out. Off the back, on the crossbar. Here comes Speed. Sends it down. The boop goes in, and a nice shot for Maryville.
And we really haven't heard about Speed much today. He's been that guy who's been playing in the back, and that Relating Wave shot gets 2 out of rotation. Arju recognizes Gababy's awkward, able to get in front of him, get the bump, and an easy slot away for Speed.
Yeah, and that's what sort of you want to see from Syracuse, right, is do something similar to what Arju just did to Gababy. You have that solo defender, look for a shot in return. Off the kickoff goals happen.
That's so brutal. That's so brutal. And once again, that 1-2 punch of a goal line just gets the pinch, and then, well, can't handle that Speed.
No, you can't. I mean, that's 76 miles per hour. That's it's a little bit higher than I think most people are willing to drive on the highway.
Yeah, you'll get pulled over in pretty much everywhere.
Yeah, pretty much everywhere. You know, my highway is actually 75. It's one of the only highways that you're allowed to drive 75 on. Fun fact, that was released a couple years ago back in Augusta, Georgia on I-20. But we get ourselves back in the game. Syracuse back on this offensive side. They're going to look to keep some pressure in. The pinch goes forward back into midfield. Lesser finds it now. Arju's there. The demo goes in. And that's going to be Syracuse having to back up for this defense. A good bump sends it back up, and Tiz is back in, but Baby gets demoed in return.
Yeah, these demos are just really crippling any chance Syracuse has to turn it back around. We see Maryville get those demos a lot during the transition play. They'll look for those bumps when the goal or the shot's open, but a lot of times when it's changing from defense to offense for Maryville, these demos come in. You just immediately have a numbers advantage. The demoed player's boost gets reset to 33, and it's so much harder to play defensive that way.
Yeah, we're seeing a lot of pressure coming in from Maryville, specifically from the ceiling, right? When they get that boost, they like to play up, they like to play high, they look to get those flip resets off, they look to get the pinch instead of off the floor, off the ceiling, setting their team up for something. Right over Tiz will be the ball. Arju not able to find the connect, though. No boost to their name. And they're going to still keep that aggression into the goal. Nice defense comes in from Baby. Speed's not able to find it. Now Syracuse looking for something. Tiz sends it. Arju doesn't quite find it, but Speed back into midfield. Going to bump it a couple times. Sends it over to the back right corner of the field here. It's open, but Baby going to dribble it a little bit over. Gives it to Tiz, who's ready. Bumps out of the way, but Speed comes back in time.
And that's that crucial rotation piece that Maryville's doing so well. They got the bump. They had the exact same situation Maryville had earlier, but the difference was there was one more card back for Maryville on the defensive end.
Yeah, we approach 2 minutes and 15 seconds here, a little bit past halfway into the game. Maryville still has a 2-0 lead, 1-0 in the series at the moment if you're just tuning in. Baby can't quite find it, but it's okay because in return, Tiz finds the save. Arju and Relating Wave going to look for something here. They send it off the back. Relating Wave likes to set it up a lot for their team. A lot of these double taps are coming in. Speed grabs that corner boost, not going to be able to give it to Syracuse. Arju not going to find it, gets sent up, going to look for it, will be Relating Wave. Off the ceiling once again, a little bit of boost. Speed goes for it, but it pinches back to the back corner of Maryville's field.
Yeah, huge bump there by Syracuse. It looked like nearly a pinch aerial was coming in from Maryville, but that bump actually redirected the pass and made it too awkward. But oh my God, what a giveaway to Relating Wave. Nearly slotted that one in. That was like a play action pass in football.
It was simple. They went for the fake, and it was easy to do, but Syracuse, they read it and able to find a good defense here. Just under a minute and a half. Ball goes short. Not going to find the connection, but once again, Maryville keeping this pressure, peppering down the Syracuse goal. Syracuse now getting back on their own offensive side of things, looking to see if they can find anything in return. Tiz, no boost, can't really invest in anything. Speed there, but Baby finds the defense. No major investment coming out from Maryville here. Tiz, no boost again, but sends it back over. In return, Arju finds that hit and sends it back over to Syracuse's field. Lesser's there for the defense. Relating Wave, a player to look out for. Then setting it up for the rest of Maryville's players, has been doing a really good job tonight. Syracuse looking for something. Speed sends it down. Lesser takes the ball, takes the boost if they can, but Arju steals it.
Nearly got the demo that would have been the goal, but just a bit too late was Baby to be able to pull it off. And that's the difference right now between these two teams. It's just half a second ahead is Maryville. Syracuse just a bit behind, and as a result, Maryville just jumps on it. This time, Arju just easy as you like. Read the touch by Tiz so easily. And while at this level of Rocket League, that's never going to be missed.
Yeah, you know, we talked about how Maryville was a second runner-up there last season in CRL. I just saw on Arju's banner. They were the spring champion in CRL in 2025, so a year ago they were on that winning roster. So Maryville only looking to improve further on this team with their new player. Syracuse finds it open. Relating Wave, a save, though. Syracuse needing to play a little bit more aggressive here. They're looking for a goal of their own. They don't want to put themselves down 2-0 in this series, but they are down 3-0 at the moment in this specific game. Relating Wave sends it back out. It's open. Baby goes for it. Is going to be able to find the redirect. Sends it back out. Speed sends it down, but it gets pinched back over to Maryville's side of the field. Syracuse is going to go down, however, for their second game.
Yeah, and it's just the difference of recognition as well. Maryville saw on that last shot, it was Syracuse's best chance to get a goal, but one of the Maryville players recognized that back pass was coming, was able to jump in front of it and get the demo.
Yeah, I mean, a really good job from this Maryville squad. Syracuse, they've been doing good, right? They've been having that good defense, but every so often it's just a little bit of miscalculation, a little bit of Maryville finding those bumps just perfectly to open it up for the rest of their team to find those goals.
Yeah, and the biggest thing as well is both games now, you have a goal that was earned by Maryville, and then a goal within a split second to double their advantage. And that's so crushing because, yes, it does happen in Rocket League. It's a thing. It's part of the game. But when it keeps happening, it gets really frustrating, and it's also really tough to come back because, yeah, okay, I went down a goal. That's unfortunate. Well, now it's 2 goals within 6 seconds, and now it's a way bigger deficit. You have to get way more aggressive, and as a result, there's a lot more pressure. At least it feels that way for these players.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we take a look at some of these replays, right? Maryville obviously finding their way through the armor that is Syracuse, but they had some incredible saves to get themselves through. Both Tiz and Gababy, 4 saves apiece. But that also kind of shows you, right, how much the Maryville squad was shooting on that goal, right? They had so much ability to shoot on that goal in return. There were only 4 saves coming out from Maryville, so just not quite as much pressure that Maryville had on Syracuse.
Yeah, there's a lot of pressure. And another small little tidbit that I'm picking up on is Maryville, when it comes to their clearances, they're clearing it with intention. A lot of times Syracuse is kind of just booting it, and Maryville is actually the first player to get to that clearance.
Yeah.
When it comes to Maryville, they're controlling it, and they're actually getting it out to likely a player, or they're the first one to get that additional touch after the clearance.
Yeah, so we get ourselves into game number 3 here. Syracuse CRL against Maryville in round number 1 here. Down 2-0 in this series. Simon, Syracuse needs to make some changes to get themselves into the game. Talk to me through it.
Yeah, the biggest thing needs to be upping the aggression, but upping it in a coordinated fashion. Right now, we're seeing a lot of individualistic play, mainly off of Lesser. He's doing what he can. He's getting creative. He's trying to get the flip resets. But it's too much, or it's not enough for Maryville to have to really struggle with because they're rotating so well. So you got to really get a coordinated effort. Defensively, there's not much that needs to change. I think just a little bit more attentiveness on the clearance is all that's required, and you'll be able to settle in a little bit more on the defensive end, but have to take your chances on offense. We saw a couple good chances in game number 2, but just none of them resulted in any goals.
Yeah, we're also seeing Maryville getting a little bit more sort of hands-on with how they like to play. A lot more demos have been seen for the Maryville squad as we approach 1 minute into this game number 3, and it's definitely put some pressure onto the Syracuse squad, right? You start back up with not the boost you ended up with, and it puts you in a scary spot, right? Having to find your way back in, get that boost if you can. Lesser on the ceiling, finds it, sends it down. Relating Wave is ready for it, though. Gababy finds the touch. Tiz goes wide.
And that was such a good play. That's exactly what Syracuse needs to do, and just a little too slow in the shot Maryville was able to rotate back and get the save, but that was a great combination. Lester patient on the ball, able to get it off the backboard, and Syracuse best chance of the day so far.
Yeah, Syracuse back on this offensive side, though, right? This is another chance for them to keep it forward. Lesser can't quite go up and find that ball, does stop it, so no double tap is committed from Maryville. No boost, though, for Lesser. Sends it back over, gets touched by Relating Wave. Going to be back in the middle will be Tiz, over 1, Relating Wave down. There's a nice shot, but Arju is there just in time.
And that's great communication as well, because of course when you're playing your opponent in Rocket League, you can't see the boost number, but as teammates you now can, and well, it's now not been a recent update, but you can see your teammate's boost tank, meaning you can recognize when they're running out, you can jump on a ball that you know where it's going to land, and defense has to wait a half a beat.
Yeah, a little bit of a strifle happening over on that right side. Syracuse is the one who ends up with the ball in their favor. Relating Wave pops it back up on the ceiling, down on the ground. Baby clears it back out to midfield. Arju in the midfield finds it, pinches it over from speed into the right. It's set up clear, but Relating Wave doesn't go for it.
Yeah, really good job by Maryville. They're combining, and that pinch was actually interesting to me because I didn't think it was required. You had Arju kind of taking it on the wall. Good fake there by Speed, but no goal as a result.
Yeah, we're seeing really good defense coming in from Syracuse. They just need to turn that defense into some more offensive pressure and capitalize on the goals that they can make. This Maryville squad, we approach halfway through the game, and it's going to be their first goal. Arju dribbles it in nice and easy.
And one touch right here by Lester was all that it needed for Maryville to capitalize. Just a bit awkward on that flip reset. I think Lester wanted to pinch it up off the wall to get it down to the defensive third, but Maryville jumped on it so fast. Demo comes in and just able to walk it in.
Yeah, I mean, Syracuse, they're just trying to find their way back into this matchup. We've seen good defense, like I mentioned. I mean, first goal was over halfway through the matchup here, so Syracuse is doing a good job, but they, like I said, they need to find their way back into that offensive side and actually get a goal of their own. Tiz sends it clear to the corner. Gababy finds it, pinches out to the right side. It's now going to be the rest of Syracuse back on that offense. Tiz goes for it! Bottom left corner, there's a goal. We're even in this game.
We've opened up the scoring for Syracuse, so that's all a huge credit. Watch this by Lesser, hunting down Speed, gets the bump, and no one is back for Maryville to get the save. Syracuse with some life in Game 3.
That's what you want to see, right? They've had good defense, and now they get a little bit more on that offensive pressure and that offensive end. They get themselves a goal, and now they need to find themselves another one to win this series. Speed goes for it. A double commit comes out from Syracuse, but no one's there from Maryville to capitalize on it. And now Syracuse in a good spot, clears it out. There's Speed, finds the goal. Beautiful clear. Speed finds it, and Maryville's back up again.
And that's just mechanical brilliance out of Maryville. Gababy, tough clear, relating wave, great center ball. And then look how quickly he jumped on looking for a bump. And Lester, no boost, tried to go off the top of the goal to get some form of a defensive pressure, but good angle there to slot it away.
Yeah, Maryville. Syracuse had that tie game for about 12 seconds, but Maryville finding their way back into this series and putting themselves back up in the lead. A minute and a half left. Tiz off the ceiling. Demos on either side go in. And so no one's really going to be able to capitalize off of this one. It's going to be a double commit from Maryville as they're going to go for the shot. It's clear. Someone's got to find it. Speed just barely goes a little bit short on that goal, but now Maryville can keep the pressure. Gababy gets bumped out, but Tiz finds the ball on the floor, sends it out to the middle, looks for the shot. Relating wave is there on the defense.
And it may not seem like it, but 60 seconds is actually a lot of time in Rocket League. You'll get a couple more possessions out of it, and you really just need to get one good chance, a couple good bumps, and you'll be able to tie this game up, but it has to happen soon.
Yeah, and I mean, now that you're back on this offensive side, look to steal these boosts. A beautiful demolition. Tiz, even in the series again.
Great patience there. Lester again on the rotate, able to catch out the player. Gababy, beautiful 50, and that's what we talked about in the pregame. The combination of Syracuse working cohesively pays dividends here.
Yeah, and that's exactly what you need to do, right? Take advantage of that synergy you have and take advantage of those demos when you're going for those goals. You have three very talented players that look a lot better when they're working together than when they're working in different parts. A little close. Speed not going to quite find it. Sends back in will be Arju. Speed's there for the third, but that triple commit goes in. Arju going to be able to find it back in midfield. Syracuse looking for something. 30 seconds left here. Both these teams even 2-2 as Lesser sends it back to the ground.
And Maryville looking a bit more uncomfortable than we're used to as well. Syracuse starting to get their comfort on the offensive end. They're seeing them also get a lot of those mid boosts, which puts more pressure on Maryville to try and stay defensive with low boosts. That's what they did in games 1 and 2 against Syracuse. And now Syracuse doing the same thing to them.
Yeah, Syracuse looking for something here. Gababy goes for it, but is going to be met up by Relating Wave. 3 seconds left. The ball is going to stay alive until it touches the ground. Gababy going to just make sure it does do that. Overtime, first goal will win the map here. Maryville, they're looking to make this a golden goal.
Yeah, shout out Carson for that heavy debate that we had on Sunday regarding golden goals, but I still believe any goal in overtime is a golden goal if it wins you the game.
You know, I do too.
Well, then let's call it a golden goal. Why not?
All right, I agree. Speed clears it out. Lesser finds it in the middle there. Gababy sends it, goes long, finds the goal. A golden goal, some might say, in Syracuse. 1-2 to Maryville.
There is life in Syracuse, and that's all a big credit to that Lesser pass. Gababy set up for that 45-degree angle is a term a lot of us use when you get that perfect power on your car for the Fennec like Gababy has. Super easy to square that up, and you just nuked it across the field. Beautiful combination for Syracuse to stay alive in the series.
Absolutely right. Maryville not going to walk out of this one with a 3-0. Syracuse looking to find that reverse sweep now. They've had 2 games to sort of find their adaptation. That third game, they found it. We take a look at some of these replays, and a phenomenal job from this team here. And, I mean, still, right, you see Maryville has a little bit more pressure on the Syracuse squad. They had 5 saves in total on that side of things, but on the side of Maryville, only 3 saves collectively for them. But Syracuse doing a really, really good job here, finding their way back into this series. Like you mentioned earlier, Simon, they're not out of this one yet, but now they are still on an uphill battle.
Yeah, a couple things. First of all, the bumps coming through, not just by Lester, but Gababy as well. That was so important to getting 2 of the 3 goals for Syracuse. Another thing I want to touch on is very recently, Syracuse is not a stranger to reverse sweeps. That's how they actually got into the CRL, taking out Penn State in a reverse sweep fashion. Yeah. So there's life, and there is some serious life. Not just, oh, you know, they could get one more. They could do this, so keep an eye out.
Yeah, I mean, not only that, right, but it was also a matter of if it was just sort of, maybe there's life, it would have been like 1-0, maybe a kickoff, right? This was 3 goals made from Syracuse, right? They were down 1, they found that even. They were down 1 again, they found it even. They pushed it overtime, and they ended up finding that goal a little bit past that overtime kickoff, and that's Syracuse finding their way back into this series as we get into game number 4 here. Maryville still leads 2-1.
Yeah, Maryville so good out of the gates, but Syracuse starting to get a bit more comfortable as a result. Lesser, what a save there. That was ridiculous. Barely got his car to touch it, but did do just enough to ride the ball out of the goal.
Yeah, with this now, Syracuse, right, still keeping themselves a little bit paced, but like you mentioned, right, a little bit more comfortable. Relating sends it up, can't quite find the double tap. Syracuse now gets to do something of their own on the offensive end. Lesser clears it out of their goal. Relating wave, gonna send it back in. Gababy's there. Double commit comes in from Tiz and Gababy, but no one's able to capitalize from the side of Maryville. It clears out onto the ceiling. There's Lesser looking for it. Relating wave, though. Back at it again. I feel like I've said their name multiple times. They're always in the right place when they need to be.
Yeah, Relating Wave has been one of the key players for sure for Maryville. He's always getting the jump, and he's the one who's really setting up a lot of these Maryville opportunities. He's recognizing where the ball is going early and able to get his car set up to find a teammate.
Absolutely. Syracuse now going to be back on the defensive side once more. Lesser looks to meet Speed, but they're able to clear it out on top of the ceiling. Gababy sends it back down. A little bit of a bounce. We're playing basketball. Arju finds it in return, goes for it. The pinch sends it back over to midfield here. Arju tries to get it back over to their team. That middle boost still alive for either player to grab. Gababy meets them. Tiz finds a great demo, and that's going to be Syracuse if they can capitalize on this offensive end. You see Arju starts to back up a little bit. Lesser sends it forward. It's cleared out. Tiz quite isn't there, though.
Yeah, good 50 by Lester, and Tiz takes that corner boost, so boost advantage in favor of Syracuse if they can get the ball early. It's going to pay huge dividends. Gababy sets up. Good save, but a double commit by Maryville. You can tell they're a bit frazzled.
Absolutely, right? And that's what Syracuse needs to do to capitalize on. Another demo on to Speed. Syracuse looks for something. Relating wave, though, patient and plays it well. They're able to get a good defense. Goes back in. 42 boost to their name. Off the ceiling. There goes Speed as well. They're going to be cleared back out. Arju in the mid of the field where they've been for the majority of this game, where they need to be. Relating wave going to fake it out there. Lesser goes for it, but not going to find it. Tiz now has control of the ball. Relating wave doesn't get booped, and in return finds the demo on Tiz.
And Syracuse getting so close to another one of those golden opportunities they're really good at capitalizing on. Just either lacking boost or the ball's just a little off where they need it to be. But Syracuse starting to get that offense flowing, and a lot of that is this upped aggression that we're seeing from the Orange. We really didn't see that in games 1 and 2.
Yeah, they're feeling a lot more comfortable now, right, with that aggression. Only thing is you want to be careful you're not over-committing on this play of the offensive side. Relating wave, once again, we said their name a lot. Already there for the contest on the ball. Gababy can't quite find it, clears it out. Lesser's not there, will be Tiz. Now Speed has control of the ball, sends it forward. Gababy finds it. Tiz looks for it, sends it back over. Going to be Arju who meets it in the middle here. Relating wave goes for the shot. Gababy clears it out to the right, so no one on Maryville can find that shot in return. Speed in control of the ball again, but it's going to be back over on the side of Maryville's court. It's not a court, it's a field. Close enough.
Big miscalculation, though, by Maryville. They had a really good chance there. Boost advantage. They had positional advantage, but Syracuse able to capitalize on Speed's mistouch there and get out of that tough spot.
Yeah, minute 30 here. No goal has been made in over 3.5 minutes. And now Syracuse and Maryville feeling the tension a little bit more. Maryville loses this. They're facing a reverse sweep. Syracuse loses this, and they're done for this first round of CRL. Gababy back in the middle. Tiz finds the boost in the mid of the field. Speed has it. There's a demo onto Arju. Syracuse getting aggressive. Can't quite find the connect on the top of the ceiling here. Arju back right off of the respawn there. Gababy gets the win off the 50. Goes for it now on the corner of the wall. Relating wave pinches it out. Demos on either side. Everyone falls. Speed has control. That's going to be Maryville looking for it, but just in time the respawn. Lesser.
What a save. And out of the respawn, like you said as well. Oh my goodness, the exchange on demos. That's a trade for Tiz and one of the Maryville players, but that save by Lesser was unbelievable as the redirect 50 finds the back of the net, and Syracuse steals a goal with under 60 seconds to go.
I mean, that's just lovely to see for Syracuse, just perfectly timed. Lesser was there as well in case it did go a little wide. Syracuse, the first goal here is we're 4 minutes and 14 seconds into this game. They just got to play defense here, and they can look to reverse sweep the runner-up of CRL last year.
And this would be such a good win. We don't want to look too far ahead. Of course, you got to take care of business, not only in Game 4, but in Game 5 as well. But regardless, they're putting themselves on the map against one of the top teams in the country.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. No matter what happens here, Syracuse has taken one nap off. They might be able to take a second here. And if they do, that's definitely something to take a look at. Everyone in collegiate will be looking at Syracuse as a Rocket League program after this, especially after playing so well against Baylor last night, going to game number 5 against them. almost taking that victory. It was a close series last night. If you didn't quite see it, go check the VOD on Qs_esports on Twitch, and you'll go ahead and you'll see it. It was really good. It goes wide! Not gonna find it. Syracuse, they're looking to pull a reverse sweep on Maryville. We're going to game number 5.
Oh my goodness. That was, my heart dropped, honestly, because that ball was rolling. It's set up beautifully.
Yep.
You had to hold your breath a little bit there because that was the best chance Maryville saw. And a good, honestly, a lucky break for Syracuse, but as a result of a really good 4 minutes and 59 seconds as well for the rest of the game.
Yeah, I mean, we take a look at some of these replays. I want to highlight some of these stats again, but now they're telling a little bit of a different story, right? Syracuse still 11 saves that round, 4 saves for the side of Maryville, but the biggest difference is with these saves, Syracuse turned them into an offensive game, right? They got the save, and then they turned it into their own control of that ball and finding those goals, or at least finding that pressure on that offensive end, and that's what Syracuse has sort of struggled to do at the first 2 maps. They did it the second 2 maps, and now we're on game number 5.
Yeah, they're weathering the storm really well. Maryville, like you said, there was a bit of a shift for Syracuse. Initially, they couldn't handle the pressure that Maryville was providing. Now Syracuse is doing a really good job at turning it into an offensive pressure. And a lot of that is Lesser. Keep an eye on him. He actually extends really far into the offensive third for Syracuse, trying to steal those back boosts in time. And as a result, a lot of these new chances are opening up for Syracuse.
Yeah, Syracuse here in a really good spot. 2-2 here. 5 minutes will determine if Syracuse can take the underdog victory here. We were talking to Lesser, myself, and Cole over in production right now. We're talking to him earlier, and he was saying, Lester said, a lot of teams are predicting us to lose this. It's going to be a close series if we do, and it's going to be a close one indeed. 2-2, Syracuse looking to pull a crazy upset onto Maryville here, and the ball is on Syracuse's side right now, but a great dribble sends it over on top of Maryville, and Arju finds it. Gababy look to fight him back here. Tiz couldn't go for it, but they're going to play safe, go for the defense, as they should.
Beautiful effort by Tiz to avoid the demo. That just saved the goal himself because he kept away from the pursuing Maryville player, and otherwise it would have just been an easy walk-in goal.
Goes for it, can't quite find it, just barely. Speed off the top crossbar. Syracuse, right, Maryville, they looked a little fragile last game. They might still be on this game number 5. They don't want to get reverse swept. No one wants to get reverse swept, ever. Syracuse, on the other hand, right, you've got to stay calm and relax as well. You've done good for 2 games. Can you do it for a 3rd? It was a 1-goal victory. That's all it was last game, and it was 4 minutes and 14 seconds before that first goal. This one, on the other hand, minute and 10 seconds, and Relating Wave will find it.
Early out the gates, and that's that slow boost starvation pressure. No player in Syracuse had any boost to contest that when Relating Wave's able to get, or Speed's able to get up, and the Relating Wave just beats every other orange to the ball.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good goal for Maryville to start this series off, but Syracuse, they've been down before, and they ended up taking that victory in game number 3, and then they were able to take that game number 4 as well. They're not opposed to being down 1-0 at the moment here, but they got to make sure they clear it out of their own side. They will do so here. Speed finds it. Not a lot of boost, though. Sends it back over. Relating Wave looks for the ball. Going to be paired up by Lesser. 50 goes in return. Relating Wave. They're going to go for the shot off the back. Tiz can't quite find the connection, and Arju finds the goal. Maryville 2-0.
The thin margins showing through here in Game 5. Tiz had the chance to get the touch. No boost. Tried to block, but good recalculation by Arju to slot it underneath.
Syracuse now needs to find their way to get these goals. 3 minutes and 22 seconds. We're still not halfway through the game, so a lot of Rocket League left to play here, but these teams have been playing phenomenal defense against one another. Lesser goes for something, sends it off the back. No one's there for Syracuse, though, to find the follow-up.
Yeah, and Syracuse needs to up that aggression. They need to just kind of go for everything. There is 3 minutes left, so a lot of time to produce something, but something has to happen now. It's been all Maryville in Game 5.
Yeah, Syracuse needing to find their way back into this series here. They had a good Game 3 and a good Game 4, but now they need to find their way with game number 5 here. This series isn't over yet. Sends down will be Speed. Tiz goes for it. The double commit is there, but Relating Wave's not back in time. Lesser off the back of the Fennec will be able to send it back over to Syracuse. Now, Speed back in the corner, has a full boost. No one's there, sends it to clear, but no one is there for the side of Maryville to keep it forward. Gababy is there, plays patient, but not able to find the full connect. Arju gets back in, and it's 3-0.
Yeah, and there's really where that pressure's getting felt. Gababy, no boost, tried to get a save, had to gamble on the first shot by Speed, and Well, no one's back in time to contest with Arju, so another easy goal for Maryville.
This is what we were talking about earlier in game number 2 is, you keep that peppering of your goal on that offensive side. It's hard to find yourself back into the series. We approach just halfway through this match on game number 5. It's 3-0 Maryville in a really good spot. Syracuse need to make some magic happen to find their way back into this game and look for a reverse sweep. Maryville looking to clear that one up, but they are not looking as frazzled anymore. They have the flip reset available if they choose to use it, but won't do so. Relating wave sends it back to the middle. Tiz matches it. Arju, very patient, very calm, looks for the shot off the back. Not going to be able to find it. 2 minutes remain.
Maryville looks so hyper aware of all the bumps that were paying so much dividends early on in the series, and now as the result, when Syracuse can't get those bumps, it's so much harder to generate anything offensively because Maryville's just staying up in the air and producing stuff like this.
Yeah, speed sends it back over to Gababy, who's able to find it, but not going to be able to look for a shot. Goes for the double commit, but neither one's able to find it. 4-0 relating wave, and Maryville starting to run away with this one here, Simon.
Syracuse looking a little rough. They played so well in games 3 and 4, kept the series alive, and it seems as though just momentum has fully shifted to Maryville.
And this is what we talk about, right? Every game in Rocket League is different, but unfortunately once you're in the game, they really can start to snowball. Maryville, they came back into this series and they were ready to go for game number 5. They looked frazzled after that first goal, and Syracuse able to end up winning that second match. But now that we're on game number 5 here, Maryville has been able to find their way back into this series and get themselves back into a good spot. Syracuse, they have 1 minute and 15 seconds left to make something happen, but it's going to have to be hyper aggression from this team. Gababy does find a good save, but Syracuse really needs to make something happen here.
Yeah, and just once again, Maryville, too much pressure. Syracuse just cannot get the boost advantage at all. That's been the big difference maker here in game 5. Consistently, you're seeing half the full tanks of gas for Maryville and barely anything, just those 12 boost pads really supplying life for Syracuse.
Yeah, I mean, 1 minute and 7 seconds making 5 goals. It's going to be quite a Herculean task for this Syracuse squad to find their way back in, but it is still possible. I've seen a lot of goals made in a game of Rocket League in a short period of time, but this one's going to be hard. There's been a really good defense on either side of these teams all night so far, but it is going to be very, very difficult. Syracuse, Tiz sends it back to the middle. Lesser off the ceiling, looks for something, but Arju's there to meet it. There's the demo onto speed. Syracuse could go for something. The bump into the boost. Arju has everything at their disposal. 37 seconds left. Nice air dribble, clears it out. A good demo. Lesser there for the defense, and 30 seconds left. Syracuse, this is looking like a Maryville prevention of a reverse sweep.
Yeah, Maryville just activated back in game 5, did so well to bounce back after going down 2 straight games, and it seemed like the pressure of choking, getting dealt a reverse sweep is non-existent as Maryville slots another one with just 15 seconds to go.
Yeah, if anything, that is definitely the nail in the coffin there. Syracuse not going to be able to take this series. It's going to be CRL round number 1. Maryville going to probably win this one 3-2 here, but Syracuse, right, looking that good against a team like Maryville is an incredible accomplishment. Arju, a player new to the Maryville roster, but was a CRL champion in the spring of 2025. The rest of this Maryville squad were CRL second place runner-ups here for the last season of CRL. So an incredibly good squad, and for everyone watching CRL and everyone keeping track of these teams, Syracuse a name to definitely keep in mind as they're able to take 2 maps off of Maryville and looked quite well doing so.
Yeah, it's definitely, this game is not indicative of how good Syracuse played in this series. They really fought. I mean, the first couple games were really aggressive. They were able to stay alive for the most part. A little slow start in game 1, but game 2 was tight. Then 3 and 4, they showed their resilience. They showed their ability to play against the top teams in the country. Game 5, just not enough left in the tank for them.
Not enough left in the tank for them, and that's going to wrap up Rocket League for the night. But obviously, we do have some more things happening tonight. PEC Baylor Week is still coming at. Overwatch is next up here. They start at 8 p.m., so we're going to go ahead. We're going to get everything set up, and before we're back, make sure you get your popcorn and some water. It's going to be a good match. We'll be right back, y'all.